was living a lie. In the darkness, I was scared of the light. With no direction, I was running away. Step aside, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride.
So what's going to happen is we're going to share 2 role plays. One is what we might define as a more classic mediation that ironically is ordered by the courts, because mediation is actually a consent process. And the benefit of the mediation process, the good thing about it in Minnesota is that there is an expectation that parties make an attempt to experience the opportunity to get to yes without someone else telling them how to live their lives. Yet, more often than not, the process is court-ordered, so it's this almost coercion. So the idea is that I am in role play, so even though I do this work, it probably isn't how I really do the work, just know that, okay? But I've offered to do the role play as the mediator because I have an understanding of mediation and the process. I'm going to read to you the scenario of the situation. And interestingly enough, I would probably not even have that information going into the mediation. So that is a benefit of not knowing, because if you remember last week, there's the story, and then there's the story, right? So I'll read it to you, and you're welcome to see some of it there. But this is who we're going to meet. We're going to meet Peg and Al Bundy, who have been married for 17 years, and they do have 2 children. And they're minor children. The name is Bud and Kelly. They had court-ordered joint physical custody of their 2 children, but Al rarely has exercised his parenting time, and Peggy had both children most of the time. However, at one point, Al was paying child support of $2,000 per month voluntarily, and there was a court order, but it did not come out of his pay, which meant that he wrote that check and gave it to her rather than it being kind of deducted through a court order. That happens sometimes when people don't pay. Peg's attorney told her to go to the state to have it taken out of his paycheck. This angered Al greatly because he always paid her directly by check. Peg had the kids most of the time and believed she should be paid more child support. During the course of their post-divorce years, Al started seeing the kids more regularly and continued to now angrily pay child support of $2,000 per month as it was taken from his check. At one point, Kelly, that's the daughter, moved in with Al, and for several weeks, even changing schools. Al started to complain that he should not have to pay child support, because Kelly was living with him. Peg said that for many months, actually many, many months, she had both children he rarely saw during that period. Al called his attorney, so now there are 2 attorneys, and wants to change the custody order so that he has sole physical custody of Kelly and pay no child support. Peg believes that Kelly will probably move back in with her eventually, and she has Bud at least half the time. That's the other minor child. Al also wants to go in and change the child support order so that he does not have to pay Peg $2,000 a month anymore. Both Al and Peg earn great incomes as they're both professionals. Peg is a doctor, Al is an engineer. Al went to an attorney, and the attorney told him to go to mediation. Peg is willing to mediate, Al is reluctant and only going to mediation because his attorney told him to. So as I said before, so I'm the person that has been identified as the person to mediate this scenario. It depends on what county you're in Minnesota. If that would be a staff person who is part of the, like in Hennepin County, they would likely do it internally unless it's a private mediation. But usually parties select individuals from the roster. So in this case, I've been selected from the roster, but I don't know these individuals. And they will come, I'm going to welcome them separately. They didn't drive together. They don't like each other very much right now. And I will have known very little. I keep saying this. So even though I read out this information, I know little about it, and that is a good thing for me. And we'll see what happens. What we'll then move into is in a separate role play, is essentially the same individuals, but using the restorative circle mediation process. Make sense? Okay. This is role play. Hang on. Oh, hi. Welcome.
How are you?
Peg. I'm Louisa.
Hi, Louisa.
Come on in. I'm going to have you come on in. Can I take your coat?
I'm not, this isn't gonna work, so I might as well keep my coat on.
Ah, all right. Well, just stay a while. You're going to sit right here?
He never agrees to anything.
Really? Is it okay if we sit next to each other?
Can I have a separate room?
I think it would be best right now to see if we could stay in the same room, because it always works better if we're in the same room. And if things kind of get out of control, then we can put you in a separate room. Okay. I think that I know I could feel it if things aren't going so well. Will it work for you? We'll just give it a try. All right. Hi there. How are you?
Hi, I'm Al Bundy.
Hi, Al. Come on in. Can I take your coat?
No, I don't think we'll be here long.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, if you sit right here.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Would you like a pad to take some notes on?
No, thank you. No.
Okay. So as you know, I'm Louisa Hext, and I am going to be supporting you through this process. It's a consent process. You're here today because the judge ordered you to mediation, but it is a consent process, which means that if you really don't want to be here, you have the opportunity to leave. But this is a confidential process also. So it would help you to be able to share your stories with me so that we can hopefully support you with the challenges you're experiencing with these post-decree issues as it relates to, I understand, child support and your 2 kids.
Custody, too. Besides.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that wasn't on, I didn't get that in my notes. Okay, so we'll have an opportunity to talk about that.
Okay, good.
Good. Do either of you have anything that you'd like to say? Oh, I see you do. There you go.
What he wants custody now? I mean, we have on paper, we're supposed to have the children equally, and for like years he didn't have the children equally. He fought for that. He paid $7,000 to an attorney for that. I was already agreeing to stuff, and he paid $7,000 to an attorney for that, and now he doesn't want to pay me child support. And now he wants to take my daughter from me? I mean, she was living with me. We were, but they were both living with me. And all of a sudden, now he has them for like 100% of the time for just...
Okay. No, I know this is really hard. I just want you to know that I am here to facilitate this process. It's a really tough experience, I know, and I'm really well trained. Let me tell you a little bit about my background. So, I have been a mediator since 2006. So I've got a lot of training, a lot of experience, and a lot of empathy. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to guide you through the process, and hopefully you'll be less concerned. And I did hear you say that you're a little surprised that there's this experience of him wanting to take custody. 1 minute. Okay. I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak, but he wanted to speak. And because he filed for a modification, he gets to speak first. You know that process. I don't know if you know that process. It's really hard to sit and listen, but you're going to have to sit and listen. And that's how I'll go, okay? I know it's just really difficult. As I give you the opportunity to speak, I just wonder if you have pictures of your children. Do you have pictures of your children to share with me?
For one, I don't know what that difference that makes. And number two, that's like, why am I even in here? Because, again, we have a court process we started, and she's talking about taking my children when our daughter Kelly's living with me. So I'm not taking her from me. You'll get your chance.
Of course he doesn't have pictures of the children. He has custody of the children, but he doesn't even have pictures of them.
We are talking about our child living with me, and so why...
To me. Don't talk to her. Talk to me.
Our daughter, not my daughter, our daughter's living with me. So if she's living with me, that's what I'm asking for. The courts to say she wants me to still pay child support and I should have custody because our daughter's living with me.
Yeah, and you don't even have a picture of her.
Okay. So
I live with her. I don't need a picture of her.
what I'd like to see pictures of the kids. Oh, absolutely beautiful. So what's her name?
I don't have one of my son.
Kelly is her name.
Kelly.
Since you can't recall that.
Kelly is her name. Okay.
She's beautiful.
She is absolutely beautiful. Would you like to see a picture?
She's much more beautiful in the morning when she woke up with me and I helped her off to school today.
Really? They're saying that's not so beautiful. What about
It's a beautiful picture.
It's about time you help him.
and your son?
I don't have a picture of my son.
Okay.
Supermom, right? Here's where we're going. My children.
Okay. So the issues, we have a very limited amount of time. It's really hard to get things done when two people are talking across one another. So, can I offer you some water?
One glass of something.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So there are some issues at hand. The issues are, as I understand it, that you are sharing custody at this time. It's joint custody.
Correct.
And shared legal custody, joint legal custody?
Correct.
Okay.
Why
And
am I paying support? Help me, Miss Mediator.
I have to hear your story first in order to support you to facilitate this process. So why don't I give you a couple minutes to present your story, and then I would like at that point in time to then allow Peg to share her story.
How come he gets to go first?
As I shared before, typically what happens is when there is a petition for a modification, so when that person says, well, I don't like what's going on, and this person filed in the court by default,
Here, you can have a picture, so you
Okay.
have one.
Thank you.
he gets
Guys, I'm right. You're wrong.
he gets to start. And then you might take notes. Now, you're not going to respond to what he has to say. You're going to share your story. And then it will help me support you to come to some agreement or agreements. Try and be brief and to the point.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for letting me speak first, because this is, I can't believe the courts that we even had to come back to you. Our daughter's living with me. Our son is living with her. Why am I paying support? We're each supporting our own child in our own house, so to have to even go through this process is ridiculous, and I shouldn't pay her anything anymore. We're sharing our expenses and splitting the time with the kids. This is ridiculous. It should be that simple.
When did your daughter come and live with you? Permanently? I mean, like full-time?
At the start of this school year, so it hasn't been that long of a time, but we're now in November, so it's been 3 solid months. That's enough time. It's not like she's gone back.
Thanks for the clarification. Peg, what is your perspective? Now remember, Mr. Bundy, or shall I call you Al?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Mr. Bundy, if you might just be a little more patient. You've had your opportunity to speak. Now it is Mrs. Bundy, or Peg, whatever Peg prefers, or Mrs. Bundy prefers, excuse me. How would you like to be addressed?
I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, he didn't have the kids for so long, and now he talks our daughter into somehow wanting to change schools, and now I hardly ever see her. And, just when, he all of a sudden he has the kids 100% of the time just because it's the school year. And and she's probably going to just come back because she's that way. She's a little flighty. He changed the schools without asking me. I mean, he went down there, changed the schools. Now my daughter asked me, and I said, if that's what you want to do, you can do it. But he just, did it without even asking me. And it's almost like he just doesn't want to pay child support. That's why he's like manipulating the whole situation. And now he's suing me for custody when he didn't have custody. I mean, we had this order that said 50-50, and he didn't even do it. He didn't even do it. He didn't even do it.
That was that.
Would you like to respond to what's being said? Okay.
I would love to, because she just said, she offered the consent to our daughter. And now she's liar. Saying, you just said that you think that I'm coerced her into something. She willingly did it. You communicated that with her. It's just money for you.
You're committing.
You just don't want money to change hands.
Perjury.
We're sharing our children, and you just don't want you can't stand the fact that you're not getting paid anymore. We're splitting our children. Fair is fair. We have our children half the time. We're each supporting them. So it's all money with her.
Would you like to respond to that? And just speak to me, not to him, because you'll be a little more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, he is a liar, first of all. He's turned our daughter against me for some reason. And she's over there now. I'm sure she's just going to change her mind and come back. And what's going to happen, definitely, is he's going to go in and change the child support and change the custody. And then all of a sudden, she's going to come back with me, and I'll get paid nothing. Because that's what has happened. I had the kids full time, and he wasn't paying the right amount of child. He wasn't seeing them. Now, all of a sudden, he's Father of the Year because he started seeing the children. No, that's not true. I know you were, but you were paying a lot less because I had the kids all the time, and you were only paying $2,000 a month.
Talk to me.
He was only paying $2,000 a month for 50-50, but not doing the 50-50. So that means I was supposed to be getting paid more all this time. So now it's makeup time. He's taking the kid. It's makeup time.
Okay. I think I'm getting a little bit of the picture. So the contention is how much time each parent spends with the child, and that's tied to the dollars. Because there's a sense that you're saying, well, I have my daughter and my son X amount of hours, and you're saying you have your daughter more, that it should just cancel out and there should be no child support. Correct. In reality, child support really isn't specifically tied to visitation with children and parenting time. It'd be really more helpful if we could separate out the child support from the parenting time and look at those kids as individuals that have individual needs.
That would be helpful for him because that's what we did last time.
And
he
we're
didn't
also
have
talking
the
about,
kids.
what about
And
custody?
he was paying me less than he
Changing
was
it from
supposed
custody too.
And he was perfectly happy.
She's
doing
happy
that.
with having the son with her, or both, because we're joint, but when she's talking about money too, she's saying, oh, our son is just her custody. Well, then I should have full custody of our daughter.
You know, it's really, really difficult when you're talking across one another. Because I can't hear you and I can't hear you. And
The
so
way it is at home too.
So maybe we should be practicing something different. So that's why I'm asking you to talk to me, so that you don't have that issue, and that I can help you better understand the process, because it seems like there's a lot of different layers there. And the other thing that I'm seeing is that these kids are being used as pawns for financial gain.
Are you kidding me? Pawns for financial gain?
That's how it could be perceived.
Yes.
What do you mean? You're the pawn. You're the one who has the kids now. You know, his financial gain would be to stop paying me. My financial it's a financial loss for me, so why is that a gain? It's a gain for you because you wouldn't have to pay me $2,000 a month, which is less than what you're supposed to by court law if you have.
Okay, you're a person of the court, so you should be able to tell her this makes sense that we have equally, and she just wants it for money. So as a person in the court, you're saying, yeah, we got one, this is, I would assume this is your job, because the lawyers suggested we become the mediator because the courts say go to a mediator, and we laid it simple fact. I think I condensed it in a short time. We each have a child. One pays for the one under their control. The other one takes care of the other one. So she's just upset about we have joint custody. So why is the money even a part of this? You're right. It's a pawn thing, and our children shouldn't be pawns.
It's really hard to do this work because I come in needing to hear both of your stories, and there are so many different layers, and then the two of you are arguing, and then it takes longer. And so what we really need to do is to take a step back and think about why we're here today. So, as we do that, when you said about 4 months ago, Kelly, I think it's Kelly. So Kelly came to live with you.
And switch schools.
However, what I'm also hearing from Mrs. Bundy is that previous to that, even while Kelly is now living with you.
Bundy anymore.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What is your name?
It's Peg Bundy. I kept the name. I'm not Mrs. Bundy
okay. Ms. Bundy.
anymore. Because
Apologies.
you know who.
Okay, I'm really sorry.
Because of what he did.
Okay. Well,
Because I don't pay you.
No, it has nothing to do with that. We know why we're divorced and what you did.
I don't think this is party to this case, is it?
No.
Okay.
I'm done with this mediation. I'm going to get a lawyer. He already got one. I guess, since he paid $7,000 for a lawyer the first time around, that he's probably going to pay his lawyer. I'm just going to have to get a lawyer, and if he's not going to agree to keep paying me because of before, or to, I don't know. I want to see my daughter, basically, and I guess I'm going to just have to get a lawyer.
So a lawyer is going to make the process easier? Question mark.
Yeah. dealing with him, you know, he's got all the money. He just wants more of it, and he's going to pay probably another $7,000 to a lawyer. That was just the initial money that you paid out of our joint money, by the way. Out of our joint money, he plopped down $7,000 for a lawyer when he's the one who caused the divorce.
What we see here, and I think it's evident, she does a lot of talking and doesn't listen to a dang thing. Common sense is just telling us, hey, we each have a child. It's all about a money thing, and she's just refusing to hear me. So, yeah, a lawyer's going to have to hear this.
It's not about money. I have plenty of money. It's about following court orders, which he didn't do, and it still isn't doing. It's supposed to be 50-50 with the kids. So before, it's supposed to be 50-50. I have them 100% now. It's supposed to be 50-50 now. We have 50-50 with our son, and Kelly's over there. So he's not following court orders.
I'm going to speak now. Okay?
Well, is it my...
Let me explain something to you. So what's going to happen if both of you choose to walk out of this room today is that you're going to put the decision-making power into the hands of a judge who doesn't know you. And he or she is going to make a decision based on the facts which are determined on paper and based on previous case law, how your lives are going to look, and that's going to impact your kids. So perhaps to step back and unpack the challenges, because what we need to do is we need to look at the existing agreements, talk about what's in the best interests of your kids. Is Kelly choosing to live with Dad because she wants to live with Dad? Or is Dad encouraging her more than he really should be doing because she wanted to attend that school and it's closer? Or is it better for the relationship of shared parenting to continue at that mutually agreed to 50-50? Looks like your son, whose name I'm forgetting.
Bud.
That's why I'm forgetting it. Okay, Bud. Bud is living with you part-time, 50-50, going between the households. So we need to look at your incomes.
He's finally taken Bud half-time.
Ah, yeah, I remember that. There was a piece that somebody told me about the fact that you were really doing most of the parenting at the time.
All of it, 100.
And then all of a sudden...
Too busy
And all the money, too.
That's not very nice to talk like that.
Well, so it's, you have no evidence to say when she says I have the kids almost 100% of the time. Nobody knows that she's got the kids 100% of the time. She's selling you, whitewashing a fence. She's just selling you on stuff. You just trying to do everything just to try to keep your money. And just, just like what the courts say, oh, go to mediation, whatever. So I'm here. I don't get to be heard from the courts, and I don't get to be heard here.
This is a consent process, so you're welcome to leave if you would like to.
Okay, because we're talking about our children, just like we're talking about our children, and we hear this, and there's nobody to represent my side of how much time I was parented with, and we're talking about our kids and whatever. It's not always fair. It's not when we were a family. Would you listen? When we're parenting and
okay, all about money
and we're parenting. Sometimes I took care of the kids a lot more while she's off because she's a doctor. She's not always around, and she's always telling this story. Oh, I have the kids all the time. He doesn't do anything, and it happens the other way. So it works both ways. So, yeah, again, there's nobody here to hear my side of the story. It's just like, and I heard you say the judge is just going to decide who this goes to. So I have no control. So
she's really wanting me to
write it out for me.
Come on. I need
Our daughter can
Are you going to pay half of this 800?
You're paying it. You get all the money. I don't.
She really wrote me a check. Are you going to sign? Give it to me.
She was going for the Emmy.
So that's a not really how I mean, that's a really bad mediator. I have worked with people like that. Let me know. Let me tell you. I'm sure you have too. I'm not like that. That's why I get nervous when I do these role plays. But do you want to make a comment?
I realize it's fictional, but do you really get to do both parties in the same room, no lawyers, mediations?
Me in real life?
Okay.
All the time.
Generally speaking. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, most of the work that I do, actually, if people are interested in some of that, because I really care about not bankrupting people. I travel the state of Minnesota, and I'll do pro se, which is non-represented social early neutral evaluations, which are a hybrid of mediation with evaluation, typically around very specifically those issues, not related to child support, but as you might have experienced, that comes up all the time. It gets caught up, the money gets caught up in how kids spend time with parents. And so what ends up happening is that people always want to bring it in, and so we talk about it a little bit. When I'm doing the social early neutral evaluations, it's a team. So it's going to be a man and a woman. Best practice is an attorney and a non-attorney. It doesn't typically happen that way. But I will, because I'm not an attorney, I'm always going to work with a male attorney. And then I have the child development kind of social soft perspective. And I do private mediation similarly. And sometimes there are attorneys, but usually not in the work that I do, because my kind of specialty is working with people who aren't represented.
So is this a fairly usual example of what you experience and knowing that they were probably amplifying a little, but is it fairly
What's interesting is it is in the cases that I am engaged in, because there is no attorney representation, and so there is a lot of time wasting actually, because when I'm managing, and it's managing, I don't get to facilitate what I've been hired to do. And that is usually why, and this is a good point, Michelle, when you were talking about the need to emphasize that I tell the parties to talk to me, is because they can't talk to one another. You get a ton more done that way. My goal in the work that I do, I have had good experience with some parties. A best practice for me would be for them to be able to talk to one another. It rarely happens in traditional mediation or social early neutral evaluation. And so you give people, and when I was talking about the petitioner goes first, that's true, unless they say, they figured it out differently. And then the stuff about money, that's really layered as well. But not all. This was totally exaggerated, by the way. But one thing I noticed, which sometimes happens to me in the real situation, is I get overwhelmed because they're totally blasting each other, and I get totally off track. And so you have to keep starting over again, which is the other positive experience of using a different model, right?
The question I have is, would you say, what are you saying? What's Mr. Bundy saying? What do you hear? What's Mrs. Bundy saying? Peg. Peg Bundy. I'm no longer. Would you just get them to listen to each other at all?
That's Family Innocence. That's the difference.
Yeah, I'm trying to really, so we're not modeling Family Innocence right now. You probably figured that out. I do try that and do that. But usually what happens is, it's not the listening exercise, it's me saying, I hear you say. So I'm the data collection person. And I usually do a pretty good job, so I have a page here and a page there, and it will be what one party says, what the other party says. and then I'll repeat back, did I hear you correctly? And then there is an element of evaluation in all of that. And then I also make semi-recommendations. So in classic mediation, the challenge with the court-ordered, which is what we're talking about here, big difference to some of the private mediation work I do, because the process kind of is ongoing and it can be how people want it to be, and it's somewhat like what we're going to experience, but it's not in circle. It's still, sometimes it's in circle. It depends on the room setup. Is that people don't want to be their number one. They kind of maybe do because they don't want the judge to tell them how life is going to be. They are totally fixated on how much it's going to cost. They're usually ordered for a specific number of hours. And if it goes over those number of hours, then they have to pay more. So then they force it all in, and then nothing gets done. And you might get some things, and then there is a lot of bitching like this. So, and it happens a lot when it's actually, I don't want to really say it's because it happens when people are not married, but that they share kids, but they're not married. There tends to be a tendency where there is more contention there, because usually the mother will say, well, I have all the rights because I'm not married to you and I get to make all these decisions. And so it brings up a lot of this imbalance between, what mom gets to do and what dad doesn't do. And it tends to be equalized more when there is a marital relationship, but that's my judgment coming in to that. But people don't want to invest. Like, I wish I could, but if we did that, then it would be a lot longer process, I would imagine. And I don't get the privilege of that.
So I'm going to just pass around the book like I did last time and just explain to you that none of these laws apply to you until you bring the case to court. None of these laws apply to anybody until they either ask for support from the government or they file a lawsuit against their spouse. And it is a lawsuit. It might be a friendly lawsuit, but it's a lawsuit. I remember trying to explain to my brother about family innocence and about, keeping out of court. And it was like 4 hours. He had been divorced and remarried his wife, by the way. So we even have that in our family, and then had 3 more kids, and they've been married 30 years. But anyway, and for 4 hours, I'm trying to explain family innocence. And then all of a sudden, he says to me, "Do you mean divorce is a lawsuit?" He says that to me. He goes, "That's all you have to say to people." I'm like, okay, yeah. And that lawsuit makes this book apply to your family. The lawsuit does. Divorce in its purest form is just a termination of the marriage relationship, period. That's why Family Innocence can just do one order from the court. We don't do petitions that say, "For such other and further relief as the court deems just," right? Whatever you want, government. You always think it's the two of you saying that to each other. I want stuff from the other, but it's really giving the control over to the third branch of the government, which is the judge, to decide what's going to go on in your family. And so it's just part of our culture. We don't even get what we're doing, how we're damaging our relationship and our family. And then that causes stress, because stress, you say what the value of not going to court is and staying out of the adversary process. And we nip them in the bud. Sometimes we've had cases where we're there with all of our boxes going to trial, and I'm the attorney going to trial, and I remember begging the other attorney the whole way, going, "Let's just do family innocence." I had created this, but I'm just like, you can trust me. Somebody else will be doing it. We have decision makers that are retired judges, right? When you reach impasse, same price too, $175 a month. The decision makers allow, and he finally did, because the calendar was full, and we went and sat with the decision maker, a retired judge, and he said to me, and this is after I had been paid thousands of dollars. He had been paid thousands of dollars. Washington County, I'll never forget it. We went into this a retired judge's office, and he sat down with me, and he said, Michelle, so this is the future of family law, he said to me. And I'm like, yes, I've been telling you this. And he's been helping us ever since. So, yes, it is a lawsuit. And that's why there's so much contention.
But I don't have any conflicts. Oh, wait.
It's hard to really just listen without having your judgments and saying, well, if you did this or blah, blah, blah.
I never knew you felt that way.
Wow, that is bothering me.
That bike is sexy. Growing up, I was living a lie. In the darkness, I was scared of the light. With no direction, I was running away. I tried to cover that I'm losing my mind. Now it's over. I wonder, yeah. A new beginning, it's a new way of life. Another chapter, why not give it a try? This hopeful journey needs an open mind to discover the treasure inside. I'm The clouds are running away. I can see the colors every day. Walked away from the fire, and now I'm living in grace. You never know the world until you open your eyes. Never see the truth until you look past the lies. Mother Nature is waiting for you to arrive. Step by side, enjoy the ride. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do-do-do-do-do. La, 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 la. Enjoy the ride.
So Michelle is going to leave us with the Family Innocence theme song. We know it's going to be catching on everywhere. So take it away, Michelle.
And I won't have my husband Tom sing with me this time.
Or me.
You guys are all blessed.
Okay. Camera. Start spreading the bird, beginning today. We want to be no part of it. the family court. The bird is the word. It's flying away to make a brand new start of it. No family court. We want to wake up in a household where we can sleep instead of fearing a judge ready to peep. These family court blows are melting away. We will get to the heart of it with no delay. If we can do it here, we'll do it everywhere. No family court, no family court. One more line. If it is not a crime, we are not doing time in family